So really special story there, and it's crazy. Like it kind of sounds like a fraternity a little bit because his mentor was Louis, who he did. Louis Sanchez did his first hunt with the program with Stewards of the Wild back in like 2018, and then he has progressed and became a mentor. So now to see that kind of quote unquote lineage, if you will, and like Tanner Canese, I don't know if you'll know him or not, but Tanner Canese, he was Louis' mentor. So now to have three generations,
like bigs and littles.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. Right. I really enjoy it though. It's really cool to see.
Tejas. Tejas Hunt Club Podcast is the podcast for you and you and you and you. What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 23 of the Tejas Hunt Club Podcast. I'm Brandon McDow, and this week we're going to be sitting down with Matt Hughes of the Adult Learn to Hunt program and talking to him about the program, how he got involved with Texas Wildlife Association. Also, information on if you want to become a mentor for the Adult Learn to Hunt program, or if you want to be a mentee in the Adult Learn to Hunt program and learn some more hunting skills. So this is a really cool podcast. We've talked about it for a couple weeks now and some other podcasting that we're going to get Matt on. So glad we can fit in his busy schedule and get him to sit down and talk about this cool topic and cool program that Texas Wildlife Association and also Stewards of the Wild has a program as well. Big shout out to Jackson Johnston and everybody at the Lone Star Wetlands. That podcast last week was real cool. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Judging from the numbers that we've seen of the people listening to it, it looks like y'all did. So I don't know if y'all are a bunch of duck hunters or y'all just enjoyed the conversation. But either way, man, glad y'all liked that episode. And let us know in the comments or something what y'all liked about that episode. If y'all want to have more duck hunting stuff, I'm sure we can get Jackson back on and talk about it some more. So let us know, shoot us a DM on Instagram or leave a comment in YouTube or leave us a review or something where you listen to all your podcasts at. So one thing I kind of wanted to get into in this intro before we get into the podcast is the reason why we started Tejas Hunt Club on Instagram and, started the podcast is obviously to talk about hunting, fishing, and being outdoors, but also just share awareness on things that are going on in our state here in Texas and then also across the nation and then some international stuff too, like we talked about in the Africa podcast with Megan and Jared. As hunters and people that enjoy being in the outdoors, I feel like it's our kind of responsibility to make sure that we're doing the best that we can at first for the wildlife and the animals that we're hunting, but then also, for the public itself. I'm sure some of you that listen to the podcast know what's going on in Texas right now with the CWD thing. I'm still learning a lot of information on it. Trust me, I'm doing my research. I shared an article today on the Tejas Hunt Club on the Instagram page that I found on Facebook from a student that wrote a thesis about it. So definitely go check that out on our Instagram page. I shared it on my personal Facebook as well. It shares a lot of insight into kind of what's going on right now and things that we need to pay attention to, just like that. And then also I saw today from Cable from Lone Star Outdoor Show on his Instagram how apparently we have representatives that, went around Texas Parks and Wildlife and essentially went around us and voted to ban hunting. Hold on a second. I'm going to look it up just to be sure, just to get y'all the right information. Got it here. Hold on. Bear with me. So as of September 1st of 2023, so this year, they just voted on this. We are no longer allowed to hunt our navigable waterways and their beds and basins. So you can't hunt them with a rifle. You can't hunt them with a bow. You can't hunt them with a shotgun. So how are we supposed to hunt those areas? I'm a little confused. And from the information I got, Texas Parks and Wildlife didn't have anything to do with this. Like I said, this was brought on by some of our representatives and also the Army Corps of Engineers. So I'm going to be doing some more research on this, and having this platform and having this podcast and the Instagram page. I mean, even personally, I feel like it's my responsibility when I see information to learn about it, and then also to pass it on to other people, so we're more informed about the decisions that are being made either with us or without us. So I hope this doesn't turn anybody off from the podcast. I hope it makes you aware of the things that are going on and need to be paid attention to. I enjoy hunting and fishing. I want to hunt and fish. I mentioned this in the podcast. I want to hunt and fish. I want to hunt and fish into my 80s and till the day I die. And I hopefully my kids and my kids' kids and my kids' kids can enjoy the same thing. So I know we have people that don't enjoy hunting, that don't want us hunting. But also there's some hen pecking and bickering going on between hunters, and it's not good because it's not helping us against those people that don't want us hunting at all. If you want to hunt in a high fence, hunt in a high fence. If you don't want to hunt in a high fence, don't do it. But don't try to keep other people from doing something that you don't enjoy. If it's legal, if it's management minded, if it's not, if it's ethical, and I'm not talking about ethical in just the law sense, but ethical in your morals as a hunter, then I believe that you should be able to do it. I don't hunt with a crossbow. Maybe one day if I have a shoulder injury or something, but until that day, I'm not going to do it. But I'm also not going to hate on somebody for hunting with a crossbow that could pull back a regular bow. That's we've got way bigger problems to face, and a lot more people that don't want us hunting than it is taking energy to talk trash or down that person that's hunting with a crossbow or anything else that you don't do. I mean, same thing with fly fishing. I mean, if you fly fish, cool. If you fish with a bait caster, cool. If you fish with a spinning rod, cool. Like, it's, as long as you're out there enjoying the outdoors and having a good time, I'm all for it. But I'm gonna get off my soapbox here for a little bit. Like I said, I hope this makes y'all aware of some things that are going on, and makes you want to voice your opinion on it, or at least to learn and research more about it, so you're more aware of the things that are going on. So as always, man, we appreciate y'all listening to the podcast. I appreciate you following along on the Instagram page and everything. If you haven't, please subscribe to the YouTube. And we're going to get into this podcast with Matt Hughes about the Adult Learn to Hunt program. Check you later, guys. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Tejas Hunt Club podcast. I'm Brandon McDow, and I'm joined today by
Megan McElroy.
And today we're going to be sitting down with Matt Hughes with the Adult Learn to Hunt program with TWA. We actually went to their convention a couple weeks ago for the first time. It was an awesome event. We talked about it before in another podcast and everything. So we wanted to get Matt on. He's the one that invited us to the event, and then, like I said, runs the Adult Learn to Hunt program. So we wanted to have him on, kind of talk about his, adventures and stuff and his outdoor life, and then also kind of talk about the Adult Learn to Hunt program. And if there's any listeners that want to become a part of that program, either as a mentor to help other people, or if you're looking for your chance to go on your first hunt and learn how to do all this, this is going to be a great avenue, great podcast to listen to. So Matt, take it away, do a little introduction and tell us about yourself.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for having me. My name is Matt Hughes. I'm with Texas Wildlife Association. I've been with TWA for about a year now, actually. I started last August. Prior to that, I was with Texas Parks and Wildlife Foundation Stewards of the Wild program, which we'll probably touch base on a little bit here as we get going. But yeah, I was with Stewards of the Wild. Love Stewards of the Wild. Love what they stand for. Love what they do. I was with them for about 4.5 years, and over that time, we had partnered with Texas Wildlife Association to run the adult, what stewards call adult mentored hunting, what we call the Adult Learn to Hunt program. And so I was running a lot of those, and you guys may remember 2020 was a weird year, and so we kind of got left with this whole notion of like, okay, we can do small outdoor events. And it just so happens that our hunts were small outdoor events. Yeah. And so we really hit the pedal with the adult mentored hunting. And over that time period, I just kind of fell in love with that educational experience. My background is I have a doctorate in park recreation management. So I taught at the collegiate level and develop curriculums and all that kind of good stuff. And so to be able to marry my educational background with with adult hunting education, and when TWA had this opportunity open, it was a great fit for me, and just decided to kind of run with it. And so here we are, starting year 2, the official year 2 of the Adult Learn to Hunt program. This past year, the hunting season 2022-2023, we had 18 hunts, 93 new hunters, 120 something volunteers, which was like 5,000 something volunteer hours. So it was pretty awesome. So, and this next season we're looking at like 25 hunts. So it's going to be even crazier.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And I mean, you come from a passion in the outdoors, correct? Personally, like that's something that you're passionate about, where you're getting your education and melding that with the outdoors, and it's perfect.
Yeah, I'll try and spare you the extremely long version of this, but yeah, I grew up in San Antonio, and we ranched in South Texas. We ran beef cattle, and obviously with that kind of acreage, we hunted. It's kind of one of those stories of like you don't know what you have till you don't have it, and
right.
I mean, I hunted, but it wasn't something that like defined my life. I would say agriculture was a big component of what defined my life. But I'd hunt once or twice a year, and just nothing too crazy. But I went to A&M. That reduced my time at the ranch, and then but I studied agriculture. Had a couple experiences there. I interned in Brazil, and that kind of changed how I thought about things. And then moved to Hawaii, did my master's in Hawaii on sustainable agriculture. So still in that outdoor sphere. And kind of at that point, I went to go work at the national parks between my master's and my doctorate. And that's kind of when I got this idea. Like I cared about the outdoors. I wanted other people to care about the outdoors and those experiences. I was trying to find where I fit in that spectrum. So when I went to work in the national parks, went to Clemson, did my doctorate there, parks recreation management, studied, basically studied how like recreation can diversify rural economies.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of off-highway vehicle use stuff, did some surfing research, had a lot of fun doing all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We moved to Florida. My wife and I moved to Florida. I did the parks and recreation gig. And we were living in Miami, and I was overseeing this program called RX for Health. And it was a cool program because it was an after-school program for at-risk youth, getting them outside and showing that their time outside helped reduce hypertension
Mm-hmm.
and help their mental state. Because they were going to, like, as part of the program, they were going to psychiatrists and doctors, right, like professionals, and we were kind of just helping collect the data on their behalf. And so, that really kind of brought it into perspective of like how important the outdoors was for people and their emotional being and all that kind of stuff. And so we decided to start a family, came back to Texas, and fell into this really awesome job with Texas Parks and Wildlife Foundation, the Stewards of the Wild, and really found a swing zone with getting young adults, young professionals outside and connecting around the outdoor experience.
Yeah, you found that way to get other people introduced to the outdoors. That's great. Yeah, and we originally met you in 2021, I believe, when you were down here for the Stewards of the Wild. The same year we joined Stewards of the Wild.
Yeah.
Mainly because of the mentored hunting and fishing opportunities that was very attractive to us. But I mean, we've been involved here in Bryan College Station for the last 2 years. And we got our dual membership with TWA this past renewal, and met up with you at the conference. And I think the coolest thing for me was seeing the diversity of landowners, hunters, conservationists, like professionals in the industry, like true professionals in the industry that are working for these brands, not just ranch owners. There's across the board. There was such a diverse group of people that were together. And we met some really neat people and got to hear, I wish we would have been able to go to some of the breakout sessions. That would have been the best thing for us to be able to add that in for next year. But it was such a great experience. And talking with some of the people that were at the table with us that had been mentors or mentees, and getting to know them, and they're like, oh, you're with Stewards, and talking about things that we've done with Stewards. And so the relationship there is really strong from what I can see for the past couple of years, at least from what my perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, as this experience has developed. Well, first off, real quick, so about TWA and the convention, it's critical for operations. We raise like 20 to 25% of our operations through that convention, and it is a lot of landowners. And I think TWA has traditionally struggled. Well, not necessarily TWA. I would say like almost all nonprofits, in this spectrum have struggled with like how do we pay homage to these people that have been members for a long time, but how do we also reach out to a new group of members, right? How do we get the young people? Like, how do we respect and pay homage to these landowners who founded and fund and pay for this organization? But how do we reach out to these younger members that we want to have? And the Adult on the Hunt program, and Stewards, right? Stewards is a natural feeder for TWA, right? Because once you kind of quote unquote age out of Stewards, you can join TWA.
Age out.
Age out. Yeah. Once you age out, you can become more involved with TWA, and I think that there's this nice blending between the two. We're starting to host some additional programming and more educational focused stuff. I mean, Stewards does a great job of developing that network and that introduction to the outdoors, and I think TWA kind of takes it a little bit step farther and focuses more on the educational component of things. And that's, again, really where I've really appreciated it. But, with Adult on a Hunt program, I've like changed my focus from the participant to the mentor. And that has been a lot to me, because I want to know, like, I'm going to have hundreds of people who want to come hunt, right? I have like 300 applications. Like, I'm never going to be short on people who want to come learn how to hunt.
So,
yeah. So what do I need to do in a program or an event or an experience to convert that person from a hunter to a volunteer to a mentor? And so that's really where my energy. I mean, we have a great experience. Like, everyone has a great experience on the hunts, but how do we convert them from this hunter to someone who wants to give back and volunteer and then develop their skills? Because if someone comes to me and hunts and then they want to beat down my door, like, okay, how do I get back out? How do I want to become a better hunter so I can mentor somebody? That's going to resonate with me. And I'm going to put my resources into that person to get them, an additional hunt, an additional opportunity, an additional experience, so that they can become a mentor and teach somebody else and help grow that program.
Definitely. I mean, I can't remember his name right now, but we sat at the table and he had said he went on his first mentor. He was a mentee and he went on his first hunt. And then within the next hunt that came up, he was already coming back as a mentor and wound up doing like 2 or 3 more hunts. I can't remember his name right now, but we sat at the table.
It was probably Lenny. Well, it may have been Lenny. Lenny is he's a great story. And Louie's a great story. I think Louie's at our table, but Lenny's out of Houston, and he had his first hunt with us in Stewards of the Wild in October, and then came back out in December, and then now is actively volunteering. I mean, he probably volunteered 4 or 5 times just this.
That was probably
season.
him. Yeah, that was probably him then.
So really special story there, and it's crazy. Like, it kind of sounds like a fraternity a little bit, because his mentor was Louie, who he did. Louis Sanchez did his first hunt with the program with Stewards of the Wild back in 2018, and then he has progressed and became a mentor. So now to see that kind of quote unquote lineage, if you will, and like Tanner Canese, I don't know if you'll know him or not, but Tanner Canese, he was Louis' mentor. So now to have 3 generations,
like bigs and littles.
Yeah. It's pretty
You're
wild.
right.
I really enjoy it though. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I think, they always talk about, like, especially like with the R3 movement and all that stuff, like a bunch of barriers that are there for people. And I mean, you can talk about gear and you can talk about, firearm shooting or learning how to shoot a bow. But I think the biggest thing that keeps people from hunting is having that mentor, having someone to like teach you, because let's be honest. I mean, hunting is not an easy thing to do by yourself, especially when you're trying to learn on the fly. And I mean, there's tons of information out there, which kind of makes it a little bit worse because you kind of have to weed through certain things. So like this program with mentors and people that want to spend time with teaching people how to hunt is like I said, it's awesome and something we enjoy ourselves. I mean, we get to film a lot, so the aspect of not hunting the animal per se is something that we've already become accustomed to. And I think that's kind of what keeps a lot of like hunters from doing that, is like, I'm giving up my time to hunt to help someone else. But, if you can, kind of step away from that and then still find enjoyment in hunting with that person, I think, the Adult Learn to Hunt program is a great thing to do.
Yeah, and I mean, you have people that are passionate about helping others and passing on the next generational, influence or education, or even just helping them be more comfortable and making a more relatable experience and talking about your first time and everything else. I mean, and what he mentioned too, the value that we like out of it is telling that story and being able to visually later on, look back. There's something about talking about memories that will never be the same as when you're talking about memories around a campfire, but being able to capture it visually and kind of retell that story is super impactful for those who may be more shy about it. So that's something that we've been wanting to bring to the table for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And, it's, I mean, as you said too, like there's so much, like anything, like any other hobby, right? There's so much that goes into hunting, and there's politics and there's drama and all those kind of things, and so I'm very cognizant of, of those things. And I try my best, because we get people talk crap all the time about like, oh, the hunts are too easy, the hunts, all these kind of things. And it's like, yeah, but maybe so, right? There's this whole mantra of like hunting's not hunting unless you're like hoofing it in the backcountry.
Oh, that's a constant,
stalking your all, stalking some elk, yeah. You have to suffer, and I don't really buy into that so much, in the sense that like we try to eliminate barriers and variables that would create a negative experience. So I want people to have a restroom and a hot shower and a bed, and I want them to, and a campfire and great food and, maybe a drink at night, right? I want them to have these experiences so that we can eliminate all these possible negative experiences that they would have in the outdoors, so they can focus on what they're there to learn and do.
Yeah.
So it's $200 to come out to hunt with us, plus a membership to TWA. You can borrow as much gear or as little gear as you want. We typically have accommodations, or at least enough facilities to make people feel comfortable. When you get rained on, there's someplace warm to go. And like, I'd want people to leave there with hunting and being a part of that, but like just this whole outdoor experience of like, I had a great time meeting other people. I mean, we have people that don't ever get anything, and they still leave being like, that was the best weekend of my life. Like that's the kind of program I want to have, right? Is that people leave being like, this is awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to start somewhere. And if the starting is getting comfortable with the firearm or getting comfortable with the gear and getting like, it's better to have that environment where the controllables are controlled if they can be. And then once you're comfortable at that level, I mean, I was around handguns from a little tiny age. So it's not like, or any kind of gun, or, I was always comfortable with it. So I never had the memory of like a negative, struggle situation on a hunting trip, or like, that was never like, yes, some of our hunts are more difficult than others. Some of them were in the elements, some of them were not. But at the same time, I've never had to question my comfortability with the firearm or with the weapon that I'm using.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's something unique that you do have to create most controllable situation you can to get that piece taken care of. And then you can move into, they can challenge themselves once they're, and that's the safety part too, is one of the most important aspects of that, is being safe. And I mean, if you can speak on that a little bit, I know that's one of the things when we apply for these mentored hunts and everything, one of the questions is, what's your experience? And I think the safety aspect of the mentor with a mentee is probably a significant chunk of what you're looking for, is someone who can keep the situation safe, right?
Yeah. I mean, definitely. Actually, I just had a conversation with somebody on Saturday about what I'm looking for in mentors. But I mean, safety is paramount, and I think in 90% of our hunts, we're looking at, hunting over feeders with blinds. Now we can have that conversation separate some other time about that kind of thing,
we'll but that for today. Yeah.
But when you're dealing with five new hunters on 1,000-acre ranch, or smaller or bigger, when you're dealing with new elements, you want to have someone who's confident in the blind with them. Now I don't need somebody, and people are like, oh, I'm not ready to mentor. I was like, look, you've hunted with us a number of times. You know what is safe, and like that's what I need you to portray. And like one of the biggest things I tell people is to be confident. If you're gonna be one of my mentors, I expect you to be confident in the blind. You are the law in that blind. You are an extension of the program. If you don't feel comfortable, they don't need to shoot. It's fine, right? Like if it's a bad shot, if something's not right, if something doesn't feel good, If you don't know if that's a 4.5-year-old buck or a 6.5-year-old buck, then you don't take the shot, right? Like, you respect the landowner, you respect yourself, you respect the program. So confidence is probably like one of the biggest things I look for in a mentor, right? Like, you need to, like, I can't be with you, I can't be in the blind with you, so you need to be able to say this is good or this is bad,
Yeah.
And like, beyond that, like, emotional competency is probably the second most important thing I look for, is like, how are you with other people? Because you're going to have to talk them down, you're going to have to rile them up, you're going to have to go through these emotional experiences with other adults. Like, how are you going to handle that emotionally? Are you going to high five them? Are you going to hug them? Are you going to congratulate them? Are you going to be able to walk them through if they missed a shot or they took a bad shot? Like, that's exceptionally important, because you are paired with somebody essentially all weekend. You're kind of, you're their mentor, you're their confidant. Like, you need to be able to have that emotional capacity to talk them through stuff. And again, like, it's tough because a lot of these people are urban,
Yeah.
and we have a lot of urban mentors too. So don't get me wrong. It's just, they didn't grow up around guns or the politics of it or anything like that. Right. So how you approach those experiences, like, I mean, I can go hunt with a buddy and we can talk smack and have fun and, like,
Yeah.
about that kind of stuff, but that doesn't always work with everybody. And you have to be able to understand, how to handle who you're partnered with.
Yeah. You got to know your audience for sure. Definitely.
And so, I mean, it's crazy too, because, like, I have mentors that, like, other people are like, that dude's weird, but that weird dude may go really well with a weird
with another one. Yeah.
So, I mean, we have people that are like, oh man, like, how do you bring him out? I'm like, well, just feel me for a second, because, like, they're going to be paired with somebody that also might be a little quirky, or like, I have someone that like I have someone who, like, I might have someone who's like a mentee who's ready to go, right? And they need a mentor who's going to pump them up and, like, yeah, go, great shot, do it now, let's go. I may have someone who's a little timid, like, okay, hey, take your time. You just gotta have to find that emotional balance between your mentor and your mentee.
Yeah. And I mean, not to say that, like, these people, like, obviously they're novice, but, like, it's kind of like dealing with, like, I've been on some hunts with kids, and, and it's kind of like the same thing. And I've listened to a bunch of podcasts, people talk about it. It's like, when you go hunt with kids, you can't really, like, expect to be like, they're all in it or anything like that, or, like, you have to take your time and explain things out. But, like, especially with people that, like you said, have not been around any of this at all, you have to go that extra mile, because a lot of the things that come second nature to you because you've been doing it for so long are not even thought of by these people because they haven't been in that situation.
Yeah, you have to be able to compartmentalize your understanding and your emotions while you're working with them. Yeah.
Well, it's the curated experience. We spend a lot of time thinking and planning through a weekend to just make sure that it feels fluid and dynamic, like it wasn't planned,
Yeah.
And so we spend a lot of time doing that, because I want, like, I don't, I tell my mentors and people who will become people who are going to run hunts, like, you don't know what's going to resonate with somebody, right?
Yeah.
It could be the hunt, it could be the butchering, it could be the cooking, it could be the time that they get to sit by the water, it could be, the campfire, it could be the music, it could be the camaraderie. So do everything well, so that whatever is going to resonate with them, they leave, like, feeling that was a great experience.
Yeah. Can you speak a little bit about how a typical, like you just mentioned, they'll have the butchering and the dinners and everything else. Like, what is the typical timeline for a mentored hunting? I mean, just one that you do have all your start to finish, like what you guys do for them.
Yeah, I'm going to add on to that just a little bit so that everyone kind of gets the whole timeline of everything. So our applications went live July 1st.
Yeah.
So whenever this is aired, a couple months ago, whatever. But then we review applications starting in August. And then once I make those initial selections, I start working with those mentees directly. So I become a point of contact for them. I don't necessarily turn them over to a mentor yet, but I'll start being that point of contact. Like, they'll have questions like, do I need to buy these boots? What kind of binoculars? So I kind of walk them through these kind of things that they may be concerned about up until the hunt. And then, they get 2 or 3 emails going into that hunt, and then text messaging and phone calls. And man, I tell you, from August through March. My phone's just like blowing
Blowing
up
up,
with
yeah.
stuff. But once the date's set and they have a hunt, the hunt typically on average starts on a Friday. It's usually like a 2-night, 3-day experience. So they'll come out Friday around noon. As soon as I can, I'll partner them up with their mentor on site. We get to the ranch, we do accommodations, we do paperwork, we get out the swag, we hit on logistics, we go out and do the range. So that's the first thing we do while we have enough daylight. We do the range. My expectation is that everyone shoots 2 or 3 good rounds. If they want to shoot some more, they can, but we want to at least get through the point where their mentor and themselves, they feel good about how they're shooting. Sometimes we'll hunt Fridays, but typically not. I try and not wind them up very much. So once they're done shooting, we get them back. They can hang out. They can watch us cook. They can watch us prep food. We may do some seminars on aging deer on the hoof or white-tailed deer management. We try and bring in some educational stuff. If I have a biologist that comes out or a game warden, they'll talk at that point. We have dinner, which includes icebreakers, and then everyone knows after dinner there's usually dice and and playing some games and having some fun and building that camaraderie. And then Saturday morning they will start hunting. Saturday morning, once they get back from that first hunt, depending on how many animals we have, we'll either do a full butchering demonstration. Like if I have 1 pig, I might do a full butchering demonstration for the entire group. Or if we have like 4 or 5 animals down, I kind of just let the mentors go from there. Over the years, I've tried to avoid doing like a 1 sit down, here's how you do it, because everyone does it differently. And I don't want to undermine how my mentor is going to teach that person by doing it my way, and then they're going to do it differently. So if I can, I'll just let the mentor handle that. Saturday, we kind of just hang out. We do some more, like if we can do some fly fishing, we might throw in some fly fishing or some hiking or whatever we can to kind of add some additional outdoor experiences. We have lunch Saturday night. They hunt again. They hunt Sunday morning, and we're usually off property around noon on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gives them like enough time to kind of get, accustomed to things and learn a few things. And like I said, hopefully get an animal too.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a really cool thing to I mean, some of these people never, I mean, some of the ranches we have are just, I mean, I can't even, like, they're amazing.
Yeah.
And to get people who have never experienced a Texas ranch like that, or like we have one of our properties on the headwaters of the Concho. I mean, it's where the springs are coming out of the water.
Yeah.
So that's a cool experience. We have a place in Mason. It's everything's just beautiful, and so have these people coming from Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, wherever to experience that, I mean, it's awesome. And I'm really happy to have people that open up their gates to allow this to happen.
Yeah. That's what I was going to kind of lead into, is a good segue into how you recruit, landowners, since Texas is primarily private land. That's something I'm sure is a challenge in itself, is just finding your locations. And I know you have some state properties as well that are available through Texas Parks and Wildlife Foundation and the relationship that you have there. But talk a little bit about those landowners and how, I know convention was another opportunity to be thanking them and appreciating them, but throughout the year, how that relationship works.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too excited because nothing's quite settled up yet, but I might have just gotten an elk hunt, which would be pretty amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, in West Texas. So not quite signed on the dotted line on the dotted line yet, but we're working on it, and that'd be really pretty special. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of our landowners, our trustees or directors of TWA, they're generational family owners, and it's really cool because a lot of them are actually our age or around our age who,
interesting.
their parents are still alive, but they're taking more of a role in the ranch management, and they want to give something back, right? They want to reach out to us, and like they see the cool stuff we're doing, and they want to open up those gates and let us have those opportunities. I mean, really, we had 16 different properties last year. I have properties that could run multiple hunts. We had 16 properties last year. We're going to have probably 22, 23 properties this year. And they're just all like, everyone's like, which one's your favorite? I was like, I can't, like, they're all just.
I wasn't even going to ask. I wasn't even going to ask. I was like, there's no way. Because I know some.
And then when we were with the stewards had access to Powderhorn, which was in its own right one of the most special places, in the state of Texas to hunt. And so that was a really cool experience. So there's just so many great opportunities for people to see different things and experience it. And, again, super fortunate that they're doing that for us. But they have, I mean, we bill it to some extent as a way to help them manage their deer populations.
Mhm.
I mean, there's a lot of our properties are on the managed land deer permit, which we refer to as the MLD program in the state of Texas. And so, for those of you guys who don't know what that is, it's just basically a permit that the department offers up a landowner based off of the resources they have, based off the acreage, based off of what they're seeing on surveys. And a biologist comes out and says, based off your resources, we think you need to kill, 50 deer to have a healthy population.
Yeah.
Now, anyone knows killing 50 deer by yourself is not easy.
No.
No.
And
It's a lot of
so,
work.
yeah. So when you can get a group of 5 people out there to kind of help you with that, we can take 10 deer off the property in a weekend, and that can be pretty helpful for them in managing those populations. And, we follow the rules of what the biologists say and what the landowner wants. Like if they just want does, we just shoot does. If they want us to do some call bucks, we can do some call bucks. If it's invasives, pigs, axis, whatever they want, we navigate that appropriately. They may only want 1 animal taken per person. We don't want to upset our landowners because without them, we can't do this. So.
Right.
Yeah, and it's good to start out, teaching those new hunters why you're doing this as well, like the conservation and the land management part of it. Instead of like, some people, I don't know how, but they just think, hunters just kill everything, and if it moves, it dies. But that's not the basis of hunting, especially with like the North American model or like smart management of wildlife. That's not the case. So being able to start from the ground and teach them like, hey, we're taking this many because of this, that's an awesome way to start for them.
Well, and it's, for me, like one of the things that I, try to express to landowners, and we're not there yet, right? But I mean, trophy hunting is not going anywhere, and I love getting a buck every once in a while, but trophy hunting is not going anywhere, and that's not a problem. But what I will try and tell landowners is that there is a new emerging group of hunters that just want to get meat, and like, I mean, Jesse Griffiths with New School. I mean, the fact that he can charge people I love him. The fact that he can charge people what he charges people to shoot pigs and does, like, I hope landowners can start appreciating the opportunity that, people like us just want to go out and get enough meat to feed their family and learn about it, and like have that educational experience about why we're doing this and, what can I do with this meat once I've got it? How do I? And then I'm very fortunate to work with Jesse and some other great cooks like Kristen Parma and all these people that have really trained me on how to handle meat very appropriately. And working with Jesse, and so handling wild game effectively makes wild game taste better. By doing that, like, we can change the narrative, and that's really, really important.
Yeah, because I was definitely born into the realm of, we're going to put this meat in the ice chest, and then we're going to cover it with ice, and then, we're going to drain the water out.
It out.
That takes out the giminess. Like, that's how we grew up. That's what we were told. And then, man. Once you get older and you figure out things, you're like, hold up, wait a minute. Why would I do that? And then
if they don't do that to beef in the market, you shouldn't do it to your wife.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
That's funny.
But so a lot of your hunts you've talked about are mostly whitetail is what you're seeing a lot of, but pigs, axis is one of those animals that just depends on where they are because nobody can ever figure out exactly where they are. But is there anything else that you've encountered besides that, or has it just been those 2 main groups?
It's mostly that, and here's my rationale. I don't know this for a fact. This is just what the feeling I have got. I mean, a meat eater has done a service, good or bad, to the hunting industry, and most of our people want to come out and shoot a big animal and take a lot of meat home with them.
Yeah.
I don't hear of an exceptionally high demand for, people will take anything they can get, right? People take any hunt I can get them on. But the demand I'm getting is not for wing shooting. It's for big game, so I would say the majority, I would love to have a property that wants to do quail and upland. I would love to have a property that wants to do dove and duck, and we do. Sometimes they drop in, sometimes they want to do a hunt. Like I probably have a duck hunt next year. But the big thing is big game and learning those skills to hunt big game. And so one thing that we have done with the program that I'm really proud of is we're taking tiers in the program. So you come do your white-tailed deer out of the blind of the feeder as your first hunt. And then if you put in the time, because we only have a few, like we have an aoudad hunt in West Texas. We have a nilgai hunt in South Texas. Again, hopefully we're going to have an elk hunt coming up. And then we have like a pretty challenging whitetail hunt out in West Texas as well. So you want to develop those skills. That's great. I want you to develop those skills, but you need to come back and you need to volunteer and you need to get your hunt master certification and you need to come to convention and you need to come to happy hours. I want to see you being part of the conversation. Mm-hmm. If you're just going to try and apply every year over year, that's fine. It might happen for you. But if I'm seeing your face multiple times a year, then I know that you care about what we're trying to do here. And I'm going to put you back on another hunt if that's what you want to do. You want a bigger animal, you want a more complex hunt, you want more skills. I'm happy to get you there because if I can get you there, that means you'll be a mentor.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I love hearing how you say like being part of the conversation is such a huge need, like just across the board, regardless of what you're talking about or what your feelings are or what kind of hunting style you prefer. Let's just talk about it. Let's have conversations. Let's, there's many things that we agree on. There's some that we can discuss. There's somewhere we can make impacts in other areas. Like I'm being very vague here. But I mean, it's having that conversation and having the respect for one another. And the fact that you are encouraging that as an incentive, right, for advancing in this program is huge. Because that just means that you care more about the underlying efforts than just getting someone out there and impressing someone or this one experience.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like it says about building that community and that camaraderie around things. And I mean, I always tell people, on the hunts or when I'm giving my little elevator pitch, I mean, I did it at, when I was in College Station with y'all, be part of the conversation, sign up. Like if it's not, if you're with, if you're a young professional, join Stewards. If you want to get more into hunting, maybe join TWA or private land access, join TWA. If you're into fishing, CCA, GRTU, join those organizations, support them, be part of the conversation, and what I will say to my comrades in the nonprofit world is we have to offer our members something. Like that's been a big pivotal change, right? Like the days of me giving $75 to be a member and it just going to whatever, those days are over. Right. Mm-hmm. So people will pay what we need them to pay if they know they're going to get value out of it. But value now is events. It is happy hours. It is conventions. Now we all need to understand, like, that's what I've seen. That's what I've seen since I've just joined the foundation, right? Like, there's all this, like, how do we get more members? How do we get more people involved? Like we have to give them value, even if they're just seeing it, right? Even if they just see like stuff is happening around me with this organization I joined, they feel better about that. It's when it's like you join a nonprofit and you get a little card, and they send you an email once a month, and then you're like, what the hell did I just spend $100 on? Like I don't like. But if you spend $100, you're like, oh crap! Like there was an event there, there's an event there, there's a skeet shooting, there's a convention, there's all these things. Yeah, and you come out on a hunt and like you're like, oh man, I got a duck camp shirt and a Yeti bottle, and like, oh, okay, like I see the value in my membership. I see the value in what I'm paying for, and like we have to. I wouldn't say we have to do a better job of that. We just have to be aware that that's what this generation is wanting and looking for. I mean, I'm the same way, right? I'm members. I've let memberships go and lapse because I'm like, I'd rather put that money somewhere else, where I can see the fruits of my labor.
Yeah, I think
I've done the same thing.
Yeah,
recently too.
I try to stay involved with all the different ones, like SEI,
National Wild Turkey
Federation, and everything. But it's like it's the same thing. It's like I want to get some value, and it may not be a direct value to me, but it's like if I'm looking at these issues that are going on and different things. Okay, I gave you money. Then what are you doing to solve these issues that we're seeing in wildlife and in access and in different things? Like, cool, I want to go to convention. I want to get swag and all the new stuff. But like, what are you actually doing to ensure that I'm still going to be hunting when I'm 86?
Yeah, this way of life. That this way of life is protected. Because I mean, as much as we don't want to touch politics, like there's a huge influence. Every single day there's stuff that is passed that nobody even knew about or talked about, why the conversation part is so important. It's like, that's why we have our podcast. It's just having the conversation and advocating for this way of life and telling stories. And if we can have an impact on where, you know, those stories lead or where that impact is made higher up, so that a lot of this litigation isn't affecting the future. I mean, that's one of the things we've realized recently.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I do like about TWA is we have an advocacy arm. You know, we do have the advocacy part, and it really is, like I said, it's where private landowners and wildlife meet. And that's a really important thing in a state that's 95% privately owned, you know, again, for better or for worse, but that's where we're at, you know?
Yep.
And, you know, but also to your point, like on my hunts, there is a strict rule of no politics and no religion, right? Like I don't know who's coming out. I don't know their background. I don't know their story. I want to respect their stories.
Yeah.
But I've got them for 48 hours, you know? And so we do it. I don't know, who knows what kind of background or experiences they have had with firearms or different things. And like, that's the thing too, I try and tell people, I mean, dealing with kids is one thing, but dealing with adults who have seen the news and experiences and all these things, and they have emotionally, cognitively said, I still want to come hunt. Like, I don't want to scare them off by talking about something that may upset them, right? Like it's focused on the hunting, it's focused on conservation, it's focused on getting you the skills you need to embrace this lifestyle. You can worry about that other stuff when you get back home. Yeah. Like right now, let's just have some fun and learn about hunting.
I love that.
And I think too, like you said, it's just building more advocacy for those people. And when they go home, they know they're on this side of hunting. And like you said, keeping the politics out of it, like you can find common ground on that hunt around hunting. Now, whatever else stems from that, that's for later and other
hopefully
discussions.
They don't know about it yet.
But the part that we're going to focus on right now is just coming together on this thing, being in the outdoors and sharing this experience.
Well, and like I said too, I mean, people are going to listen to this and like start talking smack because that's what people do, right? Like about like, oh well, you know, you can't take politics out of hunting and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, but yet, like we have to be very delicate if we want to keep this going. And like,
I think there's spaces.
And it's a progression, just like you said. Starting out, if you're hunting white-tailed deer over a feeder out of a blind, you start there. Okay, well, when you start hunting, you might not be a advocate for hunting and, you know, waving on the picket line and doing all that kind of stuff. But eventually, if you truly have that passion for it and have a love for it, you're going to want to stand up for it in some point, whether if it's, you know, giving that $100 to that organization and saying that's what I'm going to do, or if you're, you know, like I said, standing on Capitol Hill or yelling or talking about your side of the story. So it's a progression. Nobody starts out just, you know, sheep hunting in the Yukon.
No, and it's respectful that you're at a point where you're just like, this isn't my purpose.
Yeah.
Right. My purpose is to introduce this lifestyle and this, you know, this pastime.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important too, like and again, I mean, Jim Wintercheck, who you guys may or may not have met at convention, but Jim Wintercheck, like he's the man. He's probably my right hand on these hunts, but he's got a wildlife background, and like I lean on him a lot to emphasize the educational component of what we do, right? As well as the biologists that come out, and because that gives us the meat and potatoes as to what we're doing, right? And like we do have critical conversations about things that are very sensitive topics, but we try to approach them in a very like, okay, this and that, like what, here's both sides of like high fencing, like here are the pros and cons of high fencing, here are the pros and cons of hunting out of blind over feeders. Like these are things you need to understand, because you're going to go on social media, you're going to go on something and hear someone running their mouth about one experience or another. But you need to understand that there's reasons why everybody does. I mean, like me, I like shooting out of a blind because I get to go and shoot something and pick it up and clean it and be done. You know, like I like to have that experience when I'm going to go hunt for meat. You know, if I'm going to go after something else or something more exotic, like maybe I want a little more of a challenge. But there are times where I just want to go out, like go in the grocery store. I want to go get my meat. Yeah. You know, and be done. And I want people to have that same ability and experience and have those doors open for them that they can do that.
Yeah. I love it. Love it so much. Like I said, this is the primary reason we wanted to get involved with stewards and now with TWA. And we're really excited to hopefully get onto a hunt this fall or early next year or something like that. So
well, I'm going to need y'all. So
Yeah, I know we've had a
Hope
couple
y'all- hope
different
y'all
times.
ready.
A couple different times he'll send us a message on Instagram or something like that, and he's like, "Hey, I got this," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like this falls on the one weekend we don't have available or whatever. It's just been time and time again. So
Yeah.
hopefully
Well,
this
I
year-
mean, what I will tell your listeners is, one, go to our website. If you want to learn how to hunt, fill out the application. Email me, text me, whatever. Find me on social media. But we're trying to streamline communications. So we have a newsletter that's coming out now once a month, and that'll also be where I'm sending out like my drops, right? So if I have someone drop out a hunt, like that'll be my last minute pickup. If I have someone drop out as a mentor, it'll be, hey, I need a mentor in the next week or two. Can someone pick up the slack? So that's where all that and my social media account is where they're going to be able to find most of that information in regards to like last minute drop.
Yeah.
Perfect. Do you mind dropping your username so they can go find you?
Yeah, it's Matt in the Outdoors on Instagram.
Simple.
Simple.
Yeah,
Love it.
simple. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and people. One of the questions I get a lot is like, what can they do to streamline the process? And I tell them get your hunter's education done.
Yep.
Because if I have a last minute drop, the last thing I want to worry about is you getting your hunter's education done. But if you have your hunter's education done, I can slide you into hunt pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we're getting our Hunt Masters certification next month.
We're working
Oh,
on it.
awesome!
So
Good.
we'll have
Cool.
that too.
Great. Fantastic.
And I think that's a good hunter's education for anybody that's thinking about going on a hunt. Maybe not this year, or maybe you want to plan for next year or something, but like starting that process is an even better foundation to like kind of get your feet wet a little bit, I guess you could say, is taking that course. So
yeah,
and it's online too.
Yeah. If you go to the department website and just search for hunter's education, they have like for adults you can just do all online. And there's like 4 different options. I think the NRA one's for free. It's probably the most challenging one. It takes about 10 hours though.
Yeah.
So that's why I tell people to get it done. Cause like if you try and get on a hunt on Friday and it's Wednesday,
You're gonna be up all night.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna be up all night. So just get that done. Buy your license because it's good conservation funding, so just have that ready to go too. But, and then people are going to ask, yes, if you're a veteran, if you're past that certain age, we still have to have hunter's education for our insurance and liability. So.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. Matt, we appreciate you coming on the podcast and talking about it and everything. So hopefully we can get some more mentors for you and then expand that list of mentees as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I hope so.
Yeah. And we hope, get landowners possibly, that might want to do something. I mean, I know there's a strong, there's, like you said, there's a lot of landowners, a lot of even like guides and outfitters too. Like I'm sure like you're trying to reach out to everybody that you can to, help out with that. So if there's anybody that listens to the podcast, guide and outfitter or anything like that, you want to help out or run a hunt or be a mentor,
we can get you
connected. Yeah, like I said,
No.
just DM me on Instagram. I'm on my phone all the time, so unless I'm asleep, I'll answer you.
It sounds good, Matt.
Definitely.
Well, thanks for coming on the podcast, man. And once we'll get it set up where if when we go on one of the mentored hunts or something, hopefully we can maybe if they're up for it, we can get a couple mentees or mentors and get them to do a podcast, kind of talk about their experience and everything.
Yeah, I'd love to do
awesome.
one with
I
you
appreciate that.
again after we get our first experience for sure.
Cool.
Be great.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Absolutely.